The lottery is over and done with, and boy was it a wild one. The Hawks, Rockets, and Spurs are your big winners on the day, with Atlanta taking their first ever #1 pick by jumping 9 spots, Houston jumping 6 spots, and San Antonio snagging 2 top 8 selections. This is my best attempt at what I really think will happen. Keep in mind, I'm about 10 minutes removed from the lottery happening. This draft is as fluid as they come, and this is just really hard to project. Let's do it. Number 1, the Atlanta Hawks win their first ever draft lottery to come away with the top pick, and they have what I believe to be a very easy decision in Perth's Alex Sarr. Atlanta is in need of a talented big man. Sarr fits that bill phenomenally as a 7-foot floor raiser who only stands to get better in a variety of areas like perimeter shooting, ball handling, and more. He's a phenomenal rim protector, and he'll be able to get easy buckets via Trae Young early in his career. There's been rumblings the Hawks might move in a different direction this offseason. Grabbing the top pick does add another wrinkle to that, but Sarr's a versatile enough selection that he could both fit with the current roster or kick off a youth movement if you lean into his development. Fun fit and an easy pick that I really believe we're probably just counting down towards at this point. Washington stayed true to their odds on Sunday, nabbing the 2nd overall pick to again help bolster their fresh rebuild. They're going to have a myriad of options here. Buzelis is on the table, Riza Shea is on the table. I've gone with Nikola Topic, a pairing I have not been shy about in my previous mocks. With good bigs and wings upcoming in the 2025 and 2026 drafts, where the Wizards will undoubtedly hold top picks, I think Washington will be on the hunt for a long-time ball handler, and Topic would be a great one. He's a walking paint touch with great length, high IQ and high feel, great passer. He's got some shades of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. The Wizards GM is from the Presti tree. I really like this fit and think it's absolutely on the table. At number 3, we have the other surprise of the lottery, the Houston Rockets jumping from the 9th best odds via the Brooklyn Nets pick. Houston has frequented the top of the draft for the last few seasons, and I guess this year will be no different. I've got them taking a swing on Reed Sheppard, which I've mocked before and I think is a really strong fit on both ends. With Sheppard, Houston can address some immediate issues like shooting, defensive playmaking, and added ball handling. Alongside the epicenter in Alperen Şengün, Sheppard would thrive as a spot-up shooter. He shot over 50% on 4.5 attempts outside in college, and while he's not a defensive stalwart at 6'2", I think he would be absolutely fine next to Jalen Green or Amen Thompson in the backcourt. Best of all, Sheppard can eventually supplant some of what Fred VanVleet does, who's got just 2 seasons remaining on his deal. 4th, we've got the San Antonio Spurs, who jumped up 1 spot. I've got them swinging on Zachary Riza Shea. While this is a tad rich for my taste, I do think they've likely landed in his range, and I'm fine with them swinging on what could be a deadly weapon next to Victor Wembanyama. He is immensely long at 6'9", projects to be a really high-level 3-and-D player. A 6'9" sharpshooter that can play stingy point-of-attack defense and funnel to Wemby is pretty incredible in itself. Add to it the fact he's also French, also hails from the LMB Pro A League, and has a high ceiling with potential creation and playmaking, and this would be a remarkably fun fit. At 5, we've got Matas Buzelis of the Ignite going to the Detroit Pistons, who fall for the 3rd straight season. Bad vibes in Detroit. Firstly, I think the Pistons try like hell to offload this pick for win-now players. When they inevitably can't get the deal they want here, I think they swing on one of a few players in this class with all-star potential. Buzelis failed to really put everything together in his season with the Ignite, but at 6'9", he still has tons of potential as a long, do-it-all wing who can put the ball on the floor, shoot threes, protect the rim a little bit, and more. The fully realized version of Matas Buzelis absolutely helps the Pistons. The only question is, how long does it take to get there, or will he get there at all? Charlotte came into the day with the 3rd best odds and is leaving with the 6th overall pick. Not great, but manageable. I've got them swinging on the Ignite's Ron Holland, who I really think is going to finish as my #1 prospect in this class. Again, didn't have the season many thought he would in the G. It was marred with turnovers and some inefficiencies, but he's got what I believe to be a really high floor with really strong defense and transition play, and some really improvable pathways on offense with an okay handle, good scoring instincts. I think he'd fit great next to LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, both of which can handle the ball plenty, and if he does ever hit his ceiling, that would be a really scary 1 through 3 trio that I would absolutely love to see. Another team that fell, Portland had the 4th best odds and is leaving with the 7th pick. This one is really tough on a lot of fronts. It felt like the Trailblazers desperately needed a floor raiser and a swing pick to balance out some of its 2023 draft, and I'm not sure that's going to be doable at number 7. I've gone with Stephon Castle. I know people are going to be on me that they don't need another guard / wing. I get it, but I think Castle is unique in the fact that you can roll him out at the 3 like UConn did and really let him hone role player skills before throwing him into the fire. He could be some potential ball handler insurance in case things don't pan out on the scoot front. He'll play good defense, and I believe in the shot coming around. I just don't think the Trailblazers are in any position not to take their best available player. I think Portland is really going to hope a player from the top 6 on this mock falls. At number 8, we've again got the Spurs, who I think have an easy decision ahead of them in Dalton Knecht if he's still on the board. You've landed this pick via the Jakob Poeltl trade to Toronto, a genuinely big blow for the Raptors, so this is essentially a consolation after the number 4 pick. I think you take a proven player in Knecht, one that absolutely flawlessly fits alongside Victor Wembanyama as one of the best off-ball players in this draft. He can spot up, come off screens, is athletic enough to play finish, and his biggest weakness in perimeter defense is covered by the best shot blocker in the league. Love this fit and pick. Another pretty easy one I've mocked before. I wasn't totally anticipating Memphis to fall further than 8, but I still think they're going to be in range for UConn big man Donovan Clingan. Despite really liking Clingan's defensive game at 7'2", I'm not currently subscribing to the fact he's a top 5 pick. With the way the lotto shook out, I'm especially not feeling that way. I think the Grizzlies should be comfortably in his range at number 9. Maybe they have to move up a spot or 2, but worth it to secure a front court piece that's been proven to work alongside this Memphis core of Morant, Bane, and Jackson Jr. At number 10, we've got the Utah Jazz, another small fall for them with the 8th odds. This team can go a myriad of directions. I think a lineup filling wing in Cody Williams makes a ton of sense though, and this is really where I'd start considering him. He slots in great next to Keontae George, Markkanen, Kessler, Taylor Hendricks, and more. He has baseline role player skills like transition play, defense, and some shooting, as well as a high ceiling with the point forward flashes. With its cache of future picks, I really think the Jazz are going to be in play to jump up and nab someone they really covet. Maybe that's one of the G League wings or Ariza Shea. Regardless, this team has options. Another pick I have mocked before. I'm going to reiterate a lot of thoughts. I'm a big fan of what Rob Dillingham brings to the table. Spark plug scorer and yet another Kentucky guard that I personally think is flying under the radar. But there's only so many landing spots for an offensive-minded combo guard and one that's 6'2" especially. So despite me having him as one of my top prospects, I can see him being a draft night faller. I think the Bulls are likely going into this one with win now talent front of mind, like a lot of teams before them, but rookies traditionally aren't needle movers, and I think if a talent like Dillingham falls far enough, especially due to fit rather than legitimate issues, I think Chicago pulls the trigger regardless of position or fit. The Bulls have occupied the middle ground of the NBA for far too long. I think they take their best available player in this draft. For the 3rd year in a row, the Thunder will enter the draft with the 12th overall pick. They landed Jalen Williams 2 years ago, swapped with the Mavs last year to land Cason Wallace, and are using Houston's selection this year. I think this team makes a play for Cody Williams, especially given I don't think it's going to take a mountain of assets to move into his range, which I expect to be 8 to 10-ish. If that doesn't come to fruition though, a versatile offensive player in Jared McCain makes a lot of sense and is hovering around one of the best available players right here. Really talented 5-star freshman who earned himself a starting spot for Duke this season and made the most of it, averaging 14.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Very capable shooter, can handle the ball, an above average rebounder for his size. I think he fits OKC's scheme well in terms of basketball IQ, and I don't love their big man or wing options if it falls this way. At number 13, we have the Sacramento Kings. I have them taking the 3rd Ignite player off the board, Tyler Smith. The more I watch of Smith, the more I feel like he'll make an appearance here in the late lottery. At 6'10", he's a true forward who really showed off his athleticism and shooting in the G. He shot 36% on 4 attempts from outside, overall scoring 13.4 points per game and getting it done in a lot of other areas too. Smith offers some immediate help in those areas for the Kings. I think he can help space the floor on a roster that really can't get enough spacing in its current configuration. And he also adds a little bit of size and athleticism that they've gone without for stretches at a time. Last but not least, easy pick at number 14, which was all but the Blazers going into today. I think they take a big swing here with their second lottery pick, and that's none other than Tidjane Salone of the LNB Pro A. He's a 6'9", wingy forward that's shown some really strong 3-and-D tendencies with Cholet this year, but is very much an unfinished product. Portland can swing for the fences here and hope that Salone turns into a strong fit with the current core as a floor-stretching stopper, and potentially blossoms into even more in the coming years. That archetype would fit wonderfully next to Scoot, Shaedon, and whoever else.